Welcome to NDE TV. I'm Peggy Robinson. Today's guest is Ellen Weir, and she has an amazing near-death experience and life afterwards. Feel free to start wherever you like.
Thank you so much. Well, I guess everything started with my near-death experience, so I can start there. I used to ride horses as a kid. I was 12 years old, and I suffered a head injury and was in a coma for about 5 days. And my parents were told to play music at my bedside or movies to kind of stimulate my mind. I was in the ICU. And of course, I don't remember that, but I think they chose well because they chose a movie that was mostly music. And so I eventually ended up coming out of the coma to music. And that's kind of the beginning of my story. So,
Could you go back a little bit and tell how you died?
oh, I was kicked in the head by a horse.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I was,
Usually,
I was at a Western lesson and the cinch wasn't pulled tight enough because horses tend to expand their belly to avoid the discomfort of like the saddle feeling on them. So the teacher hadn't tightened the saddle enough. The cinch slipped. And then I kind of slipped on the saddle, apparently. The horse reared up and kicked me in the temple. So I was taken to a local hospital in Hillsborough, Texas. They didn't have the neurology team to work with me, so they moved me to a hospital in Waco. And so I was in an ICU there when I had my NDE. So I found myself on a raft. It was kind of a wooden raft of sorts, and I had pink clouds on either side of me, and there was ascended Master Jesus in front of me, and a man on the left with a bald head, long brown robes, and bare feet. And I didn't know who he was. So I tried to describe this for my book title to just show a little bit of what it was like. There were these pink clouds. I was there. And I remember feeling very, very safe, very held, very warm. But my true experience of the light happened after that. I was lifted from that place into first a light realm that was very bright with different colored streams and trees and music that I'd never heard before that was absolutely beautiful. And then I moved into what I call the golden realm of light. And so rather than being a place, it was more of an experience. And I felt the fullness of this place. And I didn't have a body. There was no word or human consciousness at all connected to this, like absolutely nothing. But I felt the love, the unconditional love, and I felt this like full warm pressure of light all around me, like a blanket. And I just became that warmth and that love. And I remember the expansiveness of it, the completion, the wholeness, the love. And I could have been there for a day or a year or lifetimes, but I found myself back on the raft again after that. And Jesus was communicating with me through his thoughts. And it was very simple. He was asking me if I wanted to stay there or if I wanted to live. And I didn't have a human mind. I still felt like me on the raft. I had become the love in the realm, but I felt like me on the raft. And I remember I didn't make the choice from a conscious place. I didn't think about it like in that way. In fact, the first response that I had was that I wanted to stay because it felt so beautiful and so whole and real. But I was shown the trajectory of my father's life and then my brother's lives, just a little snippet, and that they wouldn't actualize their plan on this planet if I chose to stay. And so my soul chose to stay. And it was then that I was given human emotion. I felt gratitude, like I get to live. This is a gift. All of these things just flooded to me that, that this is the illusion and that's the reality. that most of what we worry about and think about on this planet doesn't matter. It's all about connecting with our, I mean, I know this now, I can say this now. It's about connecting with our God self and co-creating and seeing our power. And it was just beautiful. I got so many messages, that people matter, that relationships matter, that we lift each other up, that we can change our consciousness, that we can create our reality, that we hold this power. So I was overwhelmed with gratitude. I felt this expansion in my heart, and I gave thanks at getting to live. So I felt this gratitude, and in that moment, I decided that I would give a vow. And I said, in my mind, we were communicating through our mind, I vowed to come back and heal people with music. Because if I got to live, I wanted to give something back. And I was so grateful that I gave a vow to give thanks every day for every experience, no matter what, knowing that it was all happening for a reason, because everything happens for a reason. That was very clear to me, everything. Those are the two vows that I made. And then everything went dark. I saw a music staff in the distance. It was different colored notes on the staff kind of moving along, but I couldn't hear anything. I could just see it. And I saw it getting closer and closer until it basically went through me. Everything was dark except for this tiny sound that was music. It was classical music. It was barely audible. It kind of came through as light as well as sound. I focused everything on my energetic being on that light, and on that sound, until it became so loud in my head that the only thing I could do was force my eyes open. And I was in the ICU, and the nurse came over, and I could see the credits on the rolling cart next to my ICU bed. And it was the credits of a Disney movie that was 90% classical music. And so, from that point on, I knew my why. I knew why I was here without a doubt. I chose to come back. And then I ended up going to a grad school for music therapy. I was a musician, and I just poured my heart into music. And then went to grad school for music therapy after getting my bachelor's in music. I learned about music therapy, and my dad said, now, if you're going to do music therapy, you need a backup degree. So I had to find a school that had both. And so I went to a school in Boulder, Colorado that had both a master's in music therapy and transpersonal counseling psychology, which is spiritual psychology. And it was a Buddhist founded university. It was fully accredited, it's a legit university, but it's founded in the Buddhist principles. So when I went there and was walking up to my first meditation class, or the first week in, I saw a depiction of a man with the long brown robes and had a bald head, and he wasn't the big belly Buddha, he was thinner. And I knew that he was the other being that was with me. And it was through my training at this school that I found my how. How am I going to connect people with their light? And I learned a process of using music to journey through altered states of consciousness. I developed a process on my own throughout the years. The more downloads I get, the more I add to the process, where people leave their body, communicate with their presence directly, receive whatever they need to receive, and then come back and we process it during the session. And so now I get to do exactly what I chose to come back and do. And I love it. I live in my purpose every day.
How's this work? You help people and then they process it in a session and
Yeah, it's wonderful. They come in. I use theta brainwave entrainment with frequency of crystal bowls to help people move out of the conscious mind and to move more into the right brain, where they're into the place of being able to visualize and co-create outside of the limitations of the left brain. We use brainwave entrainment through this. And then I use breath work. I use visualization, downloads of light that come to me that I see in the session. This happens both in person and online. They then journey, after they receive this download of light, they journey through classical music program. The classical music program is from a process called the Bonney method of guided imagery in music. It's been studied since I think the 50s and 60s at its ability to activate the the same parts of the brain as LSD. And what's really cool about that is a non-psychotropic way of using classical music to leave the conscious mind, to go into a higher state, to connect with that whatever comes through. Most people feel euphoric, light. They connect with light beings, loved ones past. They feel that love that I felt. And then when they come out of it, I'll give them a reading to what I saw during the session. We talk about what it meant to them and how it connected to their intentions for the day. We tie it all together in the most beautiful way, because animals will come through, images of, different cultures, and flowers and plants will come through with meaning. And so I know how to help them find the meaning through that process to integrate it back into their lives. So basically, it's kind of a way to shift reality moving forward, because they've anchored into something greater than the story that we're stuck in, if that makes sense.
Is the goal of this wisdom, enlightenment?
The goal is for them to connect to their loving presence, to their God presence. The goal is for them to receive whatever they are meant to receive, and through music. And for me, it's not about me, it's about them, because each of us is our own greatest teacher, our own greatest guru. And so often we seek outside of ourselves for answers. And I think that any process that can take us directly into our God presence is how we truly can change our lives. So that's the goal. I just get the honor of being able to do it through music and sound, and my own near-death experience always come through in the session itself. Yeah.
It does.